This is the Personal Finance Show.
Hello, I'm Bo Humphreys, and this is the Personal Finance Show. Joining me today is Doug Hoyes. Doug is a licensed insolvency trustee, formerly known as a bankruptcy trustee. He's the host of Debt Free in 30 podcast, and he's the co-founder of Hoyes Michaelos and Associates. Since 1999, Hoyes Michaelos has helped over 40,000 residents of Ontario become debt-free. And one of those residents of Ontario was me. So I'm very happy to have Doug with me today to talk about his company and what exactly Hoyes Michaelos can do to help you with your financial problems. So welcome, Doug.
It's great to be here, Bo. Thanks.
Yeah, I am really happy that you agreed to be on the podcast because I want to tell everybody. I already do tell everybody about my consumer proposal and how you guys brought it down from 40,000 to 15. And Sandra was my bankruptcy trustee. She still works at Hoyes.
Absolutely. In fact, we're sitting in her office right now.
This is where Sandra works out of?
This is her office that we have co-opted here in Toronto.
I'm going to be much more gentle with the desk now. And if you have a cloth, I'll wipe it off
we will, sure.
afterwards. But she was really great. And when you get into this kind of thing, you don't know what you're getting into because it's not like something you do every year or every week, and you don't talk to a lot of people who have been through a bankruptcy. So I think it's really important that the trustee has a really good manner and good people skills, and I think your people do have that.
Thank you. Well, and you mentioned a couple of key points there. The licensed insolvency trustee. So there's all these ads out there for people who claim to do exactly what you just said we did for you, which is, hey, I took my debt down from this number to this much lower number. And in your case, what we did was a consumer proposal. We went to the people you owed money to and we said, okay, hey, look, I can't afford to pay back $40,000 or whatever the number was, but I can afford to pay some lesser amount, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And as long as they agree to it, we've got a deal. The reason they agree to it is it's a legal process. And the reason we can do the legal process is because we are licensed insolvency trustees. So I think it's very important then when people are looking for someone to help them with their debt, they are going to someone who can actually help them with their debt. Because anyone can call themselves a debt guy. Anyone can take money from anyone. But unless you've actually got the power of the law to back it up, it's not going to work. And we also do try to be as you put it, approachable and friendly and so on. Our approach is, well, why don't you come in and tell us what happened? Let's talk.
Yeah, I was in a really vulnerable state at that time. I sent the email that you previously mentioned in your podcast about the incident that happened, and the incident was my life.
Mm-hmm.
So my life happened in secret, mostly, and I was just, this was the time I needed I needed help. And you're right. I looked at a bunch of different debt consolidation services or debt relief or come to us. But I saw that these specific things, the consumer proposal and the bankruptcy, these are government regulated things. And so the government has put these in place to help people. And we should take advantage of them when we're in those situations.
Yeah, if it's right for you, then you should. But yes, it's federal law that we're using to do this. And so in a consumer proposal, everybody you owe money to gets to vote on the deal. They get one vote for every dollar that you owe them. So the bigger guys have more influence than the little guys in terms of dollar value. But in most cases, we're dealing with the big banks. That's who credit cards are with. The government, that's where tax debts are with. And for them, it's a money thing. Okay, we want to get our money back. We'd like to get all our money back, but we know that you don't have all the money or else you wouldn't be doing this. If we say no to this consumer proposal, your only other option may be to go bankrupt. And we may get less money in that scenario. So if we do the numbers right, they're going to say yes. unless they've got some personal vendetta against you or something. But that's not the way the big banks work. It's about money for them. So we crunch the numbers and come up with the plan that works. Now, in your particular case, you said that, you were feeling particularly vulnerable. Well, that's the way everyone is who comes to see us. Something happened. Something went wrong.
Yeah.
And it may have been, a medical issue. It may have been a job loss, a divorce. Something happened. So when you come to see us, we're not here to judge you. When you go to see your dentist, does he judge you because you have a cavity?
Sometimes.
Okay. Was your father a dentist by any?
Yeah, he was, but he would never judge me.
He would never judge you.
My dad's probably listening, and he never did.
But your father's approach as a dentist was, you know what? Okay, if you got a cavity, let's deal with it.
Let's deal with it.
And we'll give you some techniques so you don't get into that situation again. But there's no sense berating you over what has already happened. So let's deal with the problem, fill the cavity, deal with the debt, and get on with it. And that's what our approach has always been.
And you said, it is a proposal, so it's not guaranteed, which you mentioned, and I was very aware of that when Sandra put the numbers together, and part of me was like, are they gonna refuse this? It must happen sometimes.
It does. I mean, our acceptance rate ends up being almost 100%. It's like 97, 98, 99%. Now, that doesn't mean every proposal is accepted on the first go.
Okay.
So what we will typically do, well, in fact, what we do in every single case is you come in, you tell us who you owe money to. We keep very detailed logs of how every individual creditor votes. So I can tell you the last 500 proposals we've done with Bank ABC or credit card company XYZ, how they voted. What are they looking for? How many cents on the dollar? What other terms? Whatever. So we've got a pretty good idea going into it. Here's what they're going to want. Now, we may know that they're going to want $500 a month. Maybe we'll offer $450. Maybe we'll offer $400, just, because that's still a reasonable proposal and still better than bankruptcy. But in all cases, we're going to tell you up front, here's what we think it's going to take. We could be wrong. Maybe there's a new guy at the bank who wants more money. You at least understand what you're getting yourself into. So they have 45 days from when the proposal is filed to get their votes into us, at which point we count them. It is, not uncommon for them to come back and say, well, we want an extra $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever. If you're already prepped for that, then it's like, okay, I figured they'd probably come back for an extra few bucks. I'm ready to do it. If they come back and ask for twice as much as what we offered, well, either we blew it and offered much too low a proposal, or they're crazy, in which case, okay, I guess maybe it's way cheaper to go bankrupt. That's what you're going to do. But in the vast majority of cases, we can come up with a deal that works for everybody.
So this is the benefit to coming to Hoyes Michaelos, because I didn't realize that you had so many the stats, and I think that's a great thing, because the last thing you want is someone to go and lowball and say, okay, let's bring this 40,000 down to 5, and then to just refuse it completely.
Well, think of it in terms of buying a house. Okay, so let's say,
true.
I mean, we're in Toronto right now, so you've got this 300 square foot condo, which of course sells for $9 million, right? So let's take a $1 million house that I want to sell.
Yeah.
Well, if I, as the buyer, come in and offer you $200,000, I mean, you're not even signing the offer back. The discussion is over. It's laughable. Now, if as the buyer I come in and let's ignore Toronto real estate where, in the past things have sold for higher than asking. But if I come in and I offer $900 or $950, okay, well, it's not as much as I want, but we're willing to talk. So in a proposal, we want all the offers we make to be reasonable. But we understand there may be times where the bank's going to ask for a little bit more. And again, we've got the past history. We've done thousands and thousands of these to come up with a number that's going to work.
So this is a good time to talk about how did you get into this business, and because this is not what does your dad do, right?
That's right.
My dad is an insolvency trustee.
Yep.
That's not common in my life anyway. Why would you choose this business?
Well, I didn't originally, because you're right. When you're a kid growing up, you're going to be a hockey player, right? You're not going to be a licensed insolvency trustee. In my case, when I was I was always interested in the way money worked. So when I was a kid, I'd cut lawns, I'd deliver newspapers, all that kind of thing, and I'd keep track of, where the money was because I wanted to buy whatever that next thing was that I wanted to buy. So I was always, I did budgets and things like that. So I knew I was going to have some kind of career to do something with finances and money and whatnot. And when I was in high school, an older guy I knew was a chartered accountant. I thought, well, that sounds like a pretty good thing to get into. And accounting appealed to me because it's not one thing, it's kind of the basis for everything when it comes to business.
It is the foundation.
It's the foundation of it. So if you can understand the scorekeeping, then you can kind of do everything else. So all the doors are open, as it were. So I decided, okay, I'm going to become a chartered accountant, what's now called a CPA because we changed our name. I don't know why, but that's another show for another day. And so I, went to the University of Toronto, ended up going to work for a big accounting firm, got my CA designation. And when you're starting out as a CA, you do audits, which means you go into a company and you prove that the numbers are correct that show what happened 6 months ago.
And you might not know anything about that company or what they do.
Well, in fact, you're looking at a very small piece of it. So when you're the new kid, you spend 3 weeks looking at accounts receivable or inventory. Let's go count all the inventory and make sure the numbers are right. But you're always looking at the past. So the financial statements that we issue today are for the year end that happened 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's always accounting for things that have already happened.
And that's really not that much fun. So as I was going through the process, I realized, well, wait a minute, there are other areas of accounting where you can actually look at the future, not the past. So when I got my CA, I joined what we called at the time the Financial Advisory Services Group, which did restructuring and insolvency work, also did business valuation work. So I got my CBV, Chartered Business Valuator, so I could figure out what is a business worth, which is what you use when you're doing buy and sell transactions.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's an actual thing. There's a process to go through to value a business.
Wow.
So if we're in a shareholders dispute, you and me, we both own 50% of the company and we decide we have to part ways, okay, how much are you going to pay me? Well, most shareholders' agreement will say you're going to hire a chartered business valuator to come up with the value. What if we're getting divorced and the husband and the wife own shares in the business and it's a matrimonial asset and has to be split up? Well, again, you have to have someone value it.
Because the business is not as clear as, how much the desks are worth, or it's got goodwill and there's an intrinsic value and intangible
how
value.
do you value that goodwill? Well, that's what CBVs do. Okay. So that takes a few years to get qualified for that. But I also spent more of my time doing corporate restructurings, which often meant going in on behalf of the company and trying to figure out, okay, you're bleeding cash here. How can we get things back on the ropes? Or it might have meant going in on behalf of the bank who was thinking, boy, should we be calling our loan or not? Doing the work for the debtor companies was kind of fun. I remember many, many years ago working with a retailer here in Ontario that was in financial trouble. And we went in there, my boss and I, and toured the warehouse, and we're going, boy, you've got inventory that's been sitting here for 2 or 3 years. You got all this bank loan, but you got all this inventory. Why don't you have a blowout sale and raise some cash? Oh, we don't do that. That would damage our brand.
Yeah, but you're going to lose money.
If you don't do that, you're not going to be in business.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So we finally convinced him to do it. It was a fabulous success, and for the next 20 years, he had a blowout sale every 6 months. And his margins were so high, he was still making money on it. So that work was kind of fun. But I also did work on behalf of the banks where, should we call the loan or not, I'd be the guy who'd go in and crunch the numbers to figure out, can this business live or die? And I also did receivership work on behalf of the bank. I was the guy who actually went in and got the locks changed. Sorry, employees, you've all lost your job. I've got to fire you.
Wow, that sounds terrible.
It's not fun. It's not fun. Now, obviously, it is necessary as part of our system.
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. If a bank could never collect their loan, they would never make a loan. So it's kind of like being, I want to be a doctor, but I don't want to be a surgeon because I don't want to have to cut. That's not the way it works. It's got to be done. But I realized after a while that the fun part was helping people. The less fun part was recovering boatloads of money for the big banks.
Yeah.
So I gravitated then into the personal area And in 1999, left the big firm along with Ted Michaelis, who was working there at the time, and we formed Hoyes Michaelis and Associates. And we decided all we are going to do is personal insolvency. So we've, had the odd thing we've done with corporations over the years, but we are exclusively a personal insolvency firm, meaning we deal with people, individuals. So guys like you, I've got a bunch of debts, I don't know a way out. Great, we help you. And that's much more satisfying because in a typical day, I might meet with 5 or 10 people. When I was doing corporate restructuring, I might work on the same file for 6 months, the same big corporation. So it's much more satisfying actually meeting with real people face to face, understanding what the issues are, and actually giving them a solution and seeing it implemented.
Well, in businesses, they have a whole team of people, and maybe they could try to figure out some of this stuff themselves. Individuals, they need help when they're in a bad spot.
And who do you turn to?
Yeah, turn to the trustees.
And that's why we're here. So, obviously, it's like turning to a doctor when you're sick. Well, I don't want to go see the doctor.
Yeah.
But, okay, what are your options? And when you look at it that way, it's like, okay, well, I'd rather go see the doctor and have him do whatever he's got to do than whatever the alternative is.
Yeah, it's really good. The word trustee, it has the word trust in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it always usually means somebody who's kind of backed by some kind of rules or government or association. And in this case, it is the government.
It is. It's federal law. The Federal Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act is what governs all we do. But really what it's really backed by is common sense. So you've got a bunch of debt that you owe to the banks. The banks want to get as much money as they can get, but they don't want to get nothing. And you want to get out of the situation you're in. Well, that's the perfect opportunity then for a deal. There is a middle ground that we can find. That's my job. So at the end of it, nobody is really, really happy that I got to go through that surgery.
Yeah, that's right.
But everyone is satisfied that it was a fair process, and we are all better off than if we hadn't gone through the process. And that's how we do it.
So we talked a lot about consumer proposals because I did one. So what are the other options? Bankruptcy is the other clear one, but let's say someone is just having trouble. You look at their stuff and they don't really qualify, or they're not, it wouldn't be a good idea for them to ruin their credit rating, which we'll talk about credit ratings in a bit, but it's not a good idea for them to do a proposal or bankruptcy.
Well, so someone comes into us and they say, I got a bunch of debt. So we're going to go through a number of different options, sort of from least severe to most severe. So the first option is, well, can you fix it on your own?
Yeah.
Maybe you need to make a budget, cut some expenses, maybe get a part-time job to increase your income, and it may be quite possible for you to get out of it on your own. Maybe you've got some assets you can sell. Well, I don't need that second car. I don't need my bicycle. I'll put that on Kijiji, whatever. So we look at all those things. Of all the people who call us, 30%, rough numbers, end up filing either a consumer proposal or a bankruptcy.
Okay.
Well, let's do the math in our heads. You're an accountant. That means 70%
They figure it out on their own.
do something else. That's right. So it may be that we say, okay, you haven't done your taxes for the last 5 years. Let's get you in touch with a tax preparer who can help you with that. You haven't done the books for your small business. Let's put you in touch with someone who can help you with that. Maybe it's a mortgage broker or the bank to refinance your mortgage, free up the money to pay off your unsecured debts. So we go through all of those options first with them. And in a lot of cases, that's really all they needed was someone to point them in the right direction. Maybe the answer is a debt consolidation loan, for example. Now, a debt consolidation loan doesn't reduce your debt.
No,
You're taking your $50,000 of debt here and putting it in $50,000 worth of debt over there. But if you can refinance it at a lower interest rate, with more appropriate terms, then that's a solution for many people. So we're looking at all those kinds of solutions. It's only when all those other things don't work that then we look at the consumer proposal and the bankruptcy as the final two options.
When someone comes in from that 70% and doesn't need a proposal or bankruptcy, do you make any money?
No.
So this is, in essence, you only make money if you can help them.
Yep.
If you can't help them, they without using the government.
That's right.
mandated things.
That's exactly right. But the way I look at it, okay, so I didn't make any money on that guy,
Mhm.
but that guy or girl is going to be quite happy that I was a straight shooter with them.
Absolutely.
I told them what I thought. I gave them a practical answer. And see, you know what? One of their friends they're going to send to me at some point in the next year or 5, and I'll do fine. So I would much rather come up with the right solution for you rather than the solution that's going to make me money today. And I know this is one of the knocks against trustees. It's, well, you know, you don't want to go see a trustee because they're going to put you into a bankruptcy so they can make money, or they're going to put you into a proposal, and maybe the proposal is the right answer, but they're going to try to offer as much money as possible because then they make more money. Because our fees, which are set by the government, are a percentage of the money that's distributed. Well, if we distribute more money, we get paid more money. So therefore, the trustee has this incentive, you know, even though a $300 a month proposal would work, let's offer $500 so we make more money. And, you know, my response to that is, well, no, because over the long term, everyone would catch on to that game pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And word would get around that we're operating not in the best interests of everybody. So we try to find the solution that's going to work in, you know, it's best for you as the person who owes the money, but will also be accepted by the creditors. That's what we're aiming for.
And if you were trying to make the most money possible, you wouldn't turn away 70% of the people, or sorry, help them in a free way. Which is what you're doing. You're giving them free services and free advice, which you could technically charge for if you weren't a trustee.
Well, and in fact, I could charge for it even though I am a trustee.
You could,
I could say, okay, well, we're not going to do a proposal or bankruptcy, but you know what? I want $100 for the
review.
To review it. And you know what? I bet a lot of people would say, "Hey, that's a fantastic deal. Here's $500."
They might, yeah.
But that's not the way we do it.
Okay.
If we're not doing a legislated solution, then we're not going to charge you anything. All I ask is, well, say good things about me then.
That's right.
And that's much better in the long run.
And you get paid out of the you get paid from the creditors.
Well, so let's talk about a proposal specifically.
Sure.
It's essentially the same in the bankruptcy. The creditors aren't sending me any money at all. So no, I don't get paid by the creditors. I am giving money to the creditors.
Yes.
So it's actually the other way around. So you do a proposal, and let's say it's, you know, you're going to be paying $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. That's the money that goes into the pot. So let's say your proposal is $300 a month for 5 years, $18,000. Out of that money, the government gets, well, I'll keep this relatively simple. I get the first chunk of money, roughly $1,500.
Okay.
Plus there's some GST and some other miscellaneous.
Sure.
Then we start distributing money to the creditors.
Okay.
So let's say I've got $1 to distribute. The first 5 cents goes to the government.
Okay.
Because they're helping out this process.
They made the regulations.
They made the regulations. So
they're the boss.
Well, and they're monitoring me.
Sure.
They are the regulator. So 5% right off the top goes to the government. 20% comes to me.
Okay.
That's the fee in a proposal. And then obviously the rest of it is going to the creditors, 75% or whatever that is. So the creditors aren't paying me, I'm paying them.
Okay.
So that kind of leads to the question, so who am I working for here anyway?
Working for me.
Well, in one sense, obviously I'm working for you because I'm taking, $50,000 worth of debt and turning it into $18,000 worth of payments. So
it's magic.
So yeah, you're pretty happy with that magic.
Very much.
The creditors are pretty happy though too, because if this proposal hadn't been filed, maybe you end up going bankrupt and they get a lot less.
They would have got zero, maybe.
So they're happy too. But on the other hand, there are these rules that I'm by law required to follow. So I guess I'm also working for the law. And in fact, technically, I am an officer of the court who is appointed to either administer the bankruptcy or the proposal. So the way I look at it, the way I see it in my mind is I am like the referee in a hockey game.
Okay.
There's debtors and there's creditors. There's this rule book that we all have to follow. And my job is to make sure everyone follows the rules. So technically, I'm not actually working for you. I'm not really working for the bank. I am like a judge. My job is to make sure the rules are followed. And at the end of it, everybody should be satisfied.
Okay, so you got the free services, you got the proposal and the bankruptcy, which are free for me, the person who's filing them, and you get paid out of the pot.
Yeah, so you are not in a proposal paying me some upfront fee.
No.
There's no such thing as that.
Yeah.
So if you go to someone and they say, well, the upfront fee is $500, $2,000, whatever. Okay, no. Then you're not dealing with a licensed insolvency trustees. You do not pay me anything until the proposal has been filed.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously all the money I got came from you.
Yeah, it's flowing.
But if you're making a proposal of $300 a month, you are paying $300 a month. That includes my fee, the government fee, GST, whatever else. It's all
And then you guys split it up, and it doesn't really matter to me because I went from 40,000 to 15
right.
or 18, and I'm good. And I probably want you to get a fee. I hope you get something out of this because look at all the money that you saved me.
Right.
So if neither one costs me money, why does everyone have so much of a problem with bankruptcy, say, versus a proposal? Why is it so much worse in people's minds? And whether that's a truth or not, why is that the case?
I think it's really a historical thing.
Okay.
Bankruptcy in the past was a much more punitive process if we go back many years. Socially, there was a stigma to it, and there weren't very many of them. Okay. So, you know, like how many people do you know that went through a bankruptcy 50 years ago? Well, I don't know anybody really.
I can't think of anybody.
And yet today, last year in Canada, roughly 125,000 people went through either a proposal or a bankruptcy.
Wow.
So that is not an insignificant number. So over the last 10 years, it's probably over 1 million people who have filed a bankruptcy or consumer proposal. Well, there's only, 35 million people in Canada. I don't know what the numbers are. 25 million adults. So it is not an insignificant number. So if you were to go out on the streets of Toronto right now and gather up a group of 200 random people, one of them, statistically, will probably be filing a bankruptcy or proposal this year.
Wow.
So it's a much more common thing. And the reason it's much more common is we got way more debt than we ever did before. My parents and my grandparents didn't get credit cards the day they started college.
No.
Now that's just a thing.
Yeah, automatically.
And even mortgages weren't really much of a thing 50 years ago. I mean, sure they existed, but it would be to top up the $20,000 you needed to buy your house. Well, now the whole economy is fueled by it. So when you have a whole economy fueled by debt, there are going to be people who have too much debt and therefore need to do this. So I think it's become much more prevalent, and therefore people are much less concerned about the stigma attached to it and much more focused on the fact that this is a way to ultimately deal with the debt.
And I would say a similar thing about mental health issues and addiction. And so the fact that it's all kind of growing in the same way is really good because a while ago, I'm sure I couldn't have gone to CAMH and gotten free addiction counseling for what ended up being 10 years.
And you certainly wouldn't be talking about it.
No.
You certainly wouldn't be doing podcasts talking about your experience.
No, things like Bell Let's Talk Day, as much as people do like to say, like, why do we have to have a day for people to acknowledge this? We need days. We need more days because not everybody wants to talk about it. And in the workplace, when somebody, there's a really good sort of cartoon or analogy about what if we treated mental health issues like we did, in the same way, or we treated physical ailments as we do mental health issues. Like, I just, I sliced my hand off.
Suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up. You'll get better. Just like, why don't you just be happy?
Yeah.
And so I like that a lot of that stuff is getting better. And so everything's kind of coming more out into the open, and everyone's deciding to get help where they would have had to hide it away before. When I think about bankruptcy now, I think I part of me thinks maybe it would have been easier for me because of the time. It takes less time, doesn't it?
Maybe.
Okay.
So here's the concept. In a bankruptcy, you lose everything.
Everything.
Okay. Now, most people who go bankrupt don't have anything, so it's not really an issue.
They have negative things.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why they're going bankrupt. So you're allowed to keep your basic stuff, your clothing, your basic household stuff. In Ontario, you're allowed to keep a motor vehicle worth up to $6,600. Most people we deal with, their vehicle's leased or has a loan against it anyways, so the net equity in it is zero.
Goes away.
The only asset, even things like an RSP, you only lose whatever you've contributed to it in the last year.
Okay.
That's a relatively new rule.
Oh, is that a new rule? Okay.
So if you're in debt problems, you probably haven't been contributing much in the last year. So again, in most cases, you're not losing your RSP either. But in a bankruptcy, you do lose. You might lose something. So if you have a house, for example, that has equity in it, then you're at risk of losing whatever that equity is.
Wow.
If you happen to own 2 or 3 cars, even if they're not worth a huge amount, well, yes, those are at risk as well. Or, maybe you have investments or things like that. The 2 biggest things people lose in a bankruptcy would be their tax refund.
Okay.
Which, it's not millions of dollars, but it's for some people it's
like
significant.
it.
Yep. And a portion of your income.
Okay,
surplus income.
That's a big difference from the consumer
That's
proposal.
the big difference. So the government sets limits for what you're allowed to earn. And it's based on the size of your family, based on certain expenses. If you are over that amount, you have to pay a penalty of half of the amount you're over. So if the limit based on your personal circumstances is, a couple of grand a month, and you make $3,000 a month while you're $1,000 over the limit, you got to pay $500 a month. And that number changes every month. So if you're bankrupt, every month you are sending us proof of what your income is and your expenses. So basically a monthly budget.
So I have to report every month too, which is another difference from
you don't
proposal.
have to in a consumer proposal. So if you work at a job where you get paid bi-weekly, well, guess what? A couple of times a year, you're getting 3 paychecks in a month. Your income's higher. You might have to pay more.
Oh, I don't like that.
You don't like that idea. Or maybe you work at a company where every 6 months you get a bonus. Or maybe you get paid by the hour and there's lots of overtime in the summer or the winter, whenever. Well, you can't really say to your boss, hey, dude, I'm bankrupt. I don't want to work overtime.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have to pay more. Okay, you're fired. I have to do the work. So a proposal is great if your income is over the limit or if you think there is the potential that it will increase during the period.
And that was my situation. I probably read all of this stuff that you're saying because you would have had it posted on the website in one way or another at that time even.
Yep, absolutely.
And I would have like, no way. Like if I get a bonus, I got to give it up. And then the monthly reporting, I think it is still very punitive, it seems.
It is, but that's how the rules work.
But for how long? How long would I have to do that?
Well, the minimum bankruptcy period is 9 months.
Okay.
If your income is over the limit, then an extra year gets added.
Okay.
So that's probably the most punitive part. That
Sure.
Not only are you paying this penalty, but now your bankruptcy is extended for an extra year. If you've been bankrupt before, then the minimum period is 2 years.
Okay.
And if your income is over the limit, then an extra year gets added. So it could be 3 years.
How many times can someone do this?
Well, if you go bankrupt a 3rd time,
Yeah.
in order for the bankruptcy to end, we have to go to bankruptcy court, and you got to explain it to the judge, and the judge will decide when your bankruptcy ends.
Oh, wow.
So the first bankruptcy, okay, not a big deal. Even the second one, it's still possible to be discharged provided you do all your stuff, even though it's going to take longer. But a 3rd time, you're going to court. And it's entirely up to the court to determine if you've got to pay more, if they're going to put extra conditions on you or whatever.
And the first and second times, you don't have to make any kind of court appearance.
Correct. Unless somebody objects. So any one of your creditors could say, well, I think he should have to pay more. I think he's done something bad. I think, there's some reason the court should look at this. Well, in that case, they can object to your bankruptcy ending, and then we do have to go to bankruptcy court, and the bankruptcy judge gets to decide. That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
But if you had massive tax debts, for example, okay, well, Revenue Canada is probably going to want to have a court hearing then.
Okay.
And say, hey, look, no, we're not doing the 9-month thing here. He has to pay more.
Ah.
The court may say, no, 9 months is sufficient, and that's all that's required. So bankruptcy is more open-ended. It's based on your actual income. Whereas with a proposal, we go to the creditors, we make a deal right up front. So to take a made-up example, let's say we do all the math and a bankruptcy is going to cost you $6,000 or $7,000 because of the assets you have and what you project your income is going to be. Well, if we go to the creditors and offer them $10,000, that's more.
It is.
So for you, for the creditors, it's a good deal because we're getting more than we get in a bankruptcy. But for you, it's potentially also a good deal because you know exactly what you got to pay.
Okay.
So it's not like, okay, I can't work overtime because that's going to throw me over the limit and make my bankruptcy longer and cost me more money. It's like, nope, I want good karma here. I'm going to work as hard as I can because that's what I want to do. So in that sense, a proposal is, there's much more certainty to it once the creditors have said yes to the deal. So that's the reason, one of the reasons a lot of people like to do it. The other reason is you're taking those payments and stretching them out over a longer period of time. So is it harder to pay, in my example, $6,000 over 21 months or $10,000 over 5 years? Well, obviously the monthly payment over 5 years is a lot less.
Yeah.
So we can lock in a lower payment that's much more reasonable for your cash flow. But with a proposal, once it's up and running, you can pay it off as quick as you want. So you want to go out there and work overtime, you get a raise at work, your parents give you some money, fantastic. The proposal could be over immediately then. So much more flexibility with a proposal, which is why in Ontario today there are more consumer proposals filed than bankruptcies.
And you don't just do the proposal or the bankruptcy and then send people on their way. You have certain things. Like for me, for example, I had to have credit counseling.
Yes.
That's which I'm assuming is
Yes.
mandatory.
It's mandatory.
And I did have to give the reason for why am I in debt?
Yes.
Because they want to be able to address that.
That's exactly right. So the reasons for the debt are disclosed. And for example, if the reason for my bankruptcy was gambling, then the creditors might say, well, you know what, we want to go to court and have a discussion about this because there's a section in the Act that talks about frivolous and vexatious spending.
I was a little bit worried about that.
So you know what the solution to that is? Do a proposal. So we disclose up front to the creditors, yeah, okay, I've had some issues in the past, but look at the money I'm willing to offer you.
That's right.
Okay, well, we'd rather have the money than worry about the court thing. So there's a big advantage. That's another big advantage to a proposal. There's no court. Once they've said yes, that's it. We're done. So there are 2 credit counseling sessions that are part of the process, whether you do a bankruptcy or a proposal. And really the purpose of those sessions is let's make sure you don't get into this mess again.
Yes.
So what caused the issues in the first place? And in most cases, we already know that by the time the bankruptcy's up and running.
Mm-hmm.
But then let's give you some tools to keep you out of trouble in the future. Now, for some people, they've already figured it out. Okay, I never kept a budget. I lost my job, whatever. But for other people, it's a revelation to go, yeah, I didn't realize that I should be keeping track of this kind of stuff.
Just a simple budget.
Just a simple budget. And so we have a whole bunch of resources on a website that we give our clients once they file with things like apps that they can use to keep track of that. And obviously we're sitting down in person and going through all these things as well. We've got videos on budgeting, things like that. So whatever level of assistance you need, that's what we're there to provide to make sure that this is a positive experience for you.
So that's how to not have it happen again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about how to make sure people don't get into this situation in the first place. One of the major ones is keeping an eye on your credit score and making sure that you're doing the right things to keep it where it is and making payments and that kind of thing. There's different ways to check your credit score, and it used to cost a lot of money. But now there's 3 places you can get it in Canada. You can get them for free. Now, the downside is these companies have welcomed you into their world of lending, and they're going to offer you products which you may or may not want, or they may or may not be good for you. And so I want to know your opinion on getting free credit scores like that.
Well, I have many opinions. So opinion number 1, nothing in life is free.
Okay.
And you kind of alluded to it.
Yes.
So, okay, I get my free credit score from whomever. Well, why are they giving out a free credit score? Because it isn't free to them. They are getting it from Equifax and TransUnion.
Which probably costs
money.
money.
Which costs them money. Now, of course, they're buying them in massive bulk. So you and I go to one of those places that costs $20 or $40 or whatever it costs. They're probably getting it for $1 or $2 because they're buying 10,000 a month from all the customers they've got. But it's still costing them money. Why would they do that? Well, you already answered your own question. Because it gets you into their world of lending. So think about it. I'm a lender, and I want to figure out who to lend money to. Some people are a good risk. Some people are a bad risk. Some people I need to price it higher. How can I figure out who's the best person to lend to? You know what would really help me? A copy of their credit report with their credit score. So we'll get them on the hook by saying, hey, you can have this for free. Yeah, you get it for free, but guess what? They now have it too. They
so
now
they're
have
looking at it.
They're looking at their computer's looking at it. I mean, you gave them permission to get it. You asked for it. So now they have it too. So it's pretty easy for the computer to run its algorithms because these are all, fintech, electronic, whatever companies. So they can run the algorithm to go, oh, okay, you know what? 2 weeks from now, we're going to send him an email saying, hey, congratulations. We've found you this great deal on a credit card with a $10,000 limit. It's a lower interest rate than what you're paying on your credit card now. Fantastic. So now you apply for that credit card, switch to it, whatever. They've made a commission on selling you that credit card. So they got their money back from the free credit score. Now, if that was a credit card that is actually good for you, cheaper than the one you've got, if you canceled the old one and got this one, then I guess everybody wins.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. But if it's like, okay, now I've got 2 credit cards, so now I've got the ability to borrow $20,000 instead of 10, then actually you're better off. So I'm not going to sit here and say, don't get your free credit score.
Yeah.
Because knowing what your credit score is helpful if you're going to be borrowing. I will make a distinction, though, that you can get your credit report for free.
Yes.
It just doesn't have the actual score on it.
You got to get it mailed in. Yeah.
Right. Well, and you can actually now get them over the phone. Doesn't always work. You can TransUnion now offers them online.
Oh,
for
TransUnion
free.
for free. Oh, that's
brand
great.
new thing.
Maybe Equifax will catch up.
They'll come on board eventually too. But yes, you can certainly fill out the form, mail it in. 10 days later, you've got it. So a credit report, I definitely recommend getting a copy every year. And the way I would do it, if I'm doing it the free way, is I'd get it from one of them, and then 6 months later I'd get it from the other one.
Okay.
And then 6 months later go back to the first one. So they're required by law to give you one every year. So get the other one every 6 months. You've got a fresh credit report every 6 months. And that's helpful for things like, wait a minute, I don't have a Visa card at that company. Someone's stolen my identity. I should follow up on this. Or something's misreported, which happens all the time. I mean, I would be willing to bet that virtually every credit report has an error in it.
Yeah, I mean, even in my address or my name or my former employer or,
Well, and things like your employment information. The longer you've been at a job, the higher your credit score because it shows stability.
Okay.
So if you've been at a job for 2 years, but the credit bureau doesn't know it because perhaps you haven't applied for any credit in those 2 years or updated your information, your credit score might be artificially depressed.
Wow.
If I get my credit report and I go, wait a minute, I work at this company now. Well, you can send something to the credit bureau saying, here's my T4 from 2 years ago and from last year. Look, I can prove that I've been there for 2 years, or get a letter from your employer. Well, now they can update that information. So now your credit score just bumped up. You don't know that it bumped up because you only got the free credit report.
I had no idea about that.
But yeah, same with your address. If you've been living at the same place for a number of years, you're going to have a higher credit score than someone with an equal situation who's just moved because, again, it's a stability thing.
I thought these were just administrative items on the report. These actually make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the thing that makes the most difference is how much debt do you have and are you paying your bills on time. But these little things also do make a difference. So to answer your question, okay, free doesn't mean free.
Yeah.
So be very careful. But if you want access to your credit score and you don't want to pay for it, and you are able to resist the onslaught of advertising emails that you're going to get for the rest of your life because you signed up for this free thing, then fine. But, forearmed is forewarned. Now, here's the second part of my rant. Who is your credit score for?
It should be for people who want to
lend
me money.
Why does it for people who want to lend you money. That's exactly right. It doesn't exist for your benefit.
Yeah, why do I want to know it?
It exists for the bank. It exists for the lender. They're the ones who created it.
I want to know what they know.
Right, but credit scores were invented as a way for the bank to decide how good a credit risk you are. It's for their benefit.
That's right.
Why is it that when there's an error on your credit report, it takes forever you to get it fixed, you got to go back and forth? Well, because the credit report isn't for you. It's not for your benefit. It's for the banks. So why would I focus all my energy on making things better for the banks? I think what you should do if you want to have a good financial, holistic life is do what is best for you. The basic things. Get your bills paid on time. Keep your debt levels low. Have a good job. Don't spend frivolously. All those kind of things. Now, they may not make your credit score go up. So let's say that you decide you're going to start a savings plan and every month you're going to put $100 into your TFSA. How is that going to affect your credit score?
I don't know that it is.
It ain't. It's not debt.
Yeah.
So let's take two people. One person has $50,000 worth of borrowing room on 5 different credit cards, but they only utilize 20% of it. You've got somebody else who's never had a credit card in their life and they got $1 million in the bank. Who has a better credit score?
The first person.
Exactly. The person with $1 million, who we would all agree is in better financial shape, might not even have a credit score because they've never borrowed money. But that person with all this debt, who knows how to play the game and keep their utilizations low and always make the minimum payments, they have a better credit score. So why do we have this obsession with pursuing the highest credit score I can get? It doesn't make you a better person. It makes you a better target for the bank.
Wow.
So I think you should focus on what's important, which is what we all know is important. Like I said, keeping your expenses down, having money in the bank, savings, that sort of thing. Now, I get it. You want to buy a house. You want to finance a car. Yes, the higher the credit score, the cheaper the borrowing. So, okay, fine. Go and play the game then. But understand you are playing a game. It's a game where the rules are written by the banks, not by you. And then at least you're a willing participant in the game. You're not being snowed by them.
So we focus on just making sure the credit report is accurate. That's the only reason to get into this credit report watching game, just so that there aren't any errors or somebody stole our identity or that there's some things that are being reported, like my proposal, that shouldn't be there anymore. That's the only reason to sort of go in there. But otherwise, don't get too obsessed with the credit score.
Exactly. Don't get obsessed with that. Obsess over the important things, not that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so the way to not have to walk through the Hoyes Michaelos offices is to do the things that I try to teach everybody, which number one is save some money, build an emergency fund so if something goes wrong, you don't have to get into credit. And if you do have a terrible credit, when you need credit, you're going to pay the highest interest possible, which is, it all just kind of compounds. So if you don't have anything saved and you have to go borrow money and you don't have any credit, it's just the worst kind of situation to be in.
Yeah. My number one advice to everybody is one word: think.
Think.
So we could have made this podcast way shorter if we just started with that. Think.
Maybe I'll just edit it.
There
just
you
down
go.
To
Here
this.
you go. Doug Hoy says think.
Think.
Because if we did that, then, and I realized, stuff happens. I lost my job. Well, all the thinking in the world isn't going to bring my job back.
That's true. I can
get
think
that.
out of my gambling addiction.
Absolutely.
It took a while, but for the majority of people.
What I'm saying is, we just had this discussion about your credit score. Okay, well, let's think it through. Why am I obsessing over it? Does it really make sense? When you walk into a car dealer and the person greets you at the door, you know what that person is there to do.
That's right.
They're a car salesman. That's a car salesperson. That's what they're there to do. There's no worry about what the relationship is. But when you go and get your free credit score, you think you're getting something for free, but you're really, again, it's a sales relationship. When you walk into the bank to cash a check, who are you talking to? Well, I'm talking to the customer service representative. That's Mary. She's been there for 20 years. We got along great. Okay. But are you not actually talking to a salesperson?
It turns out we are.
Turns out we are. And you've seen the media reports and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever had that happen to you where you go in to cash a check or get a money order or get some US dollars or something and say, oh, Bo, the computer says that you're pre-authorized for a $20,000 line of credit.
It's an evil word, pre-authorized.
Pre-authorized, pre-approved. You're pre-approved for a $20,000 line of credit because you're such a great customer.
It makes me want it.
Exactly, because I've earned it.
I don't even know what it is, and I want it.
I want it. And so my advice is, well, think. Why are they giving it to you? Well, to make money. Do you really need it? Like, really? Do you really need that? If you do, okay, then I guess this is lucky that you walked into the bank that day. But getting debt that you don't need or getting access to debt that you don't need probably isn't going to lead to good things.
It's risky.
Very risky.
And so we want to make sure that we don't get into risky situations that we don't need to get into. People think that they can handle it, and then it turns out we'll find out the hard way that they can't.
Right, because we don't think through the implications. You go to buy a car, and the guy says, hey, it's going to be $600 a month. And you go, okay, I can afford that. Great. Okay, did you think it through, or did you just get enticed by the word turbo? Like, what was it that made your decision?
Do you need this?
Well, and $600 a month. Okay, did you factor in all the other costs, first of all, insurance and all the rest of it?
Mm-hmm.
And is there a difference between $600 a month over 4 years or $600 a month over 8? Well, yeah, there is. It's not the monthly payment that's the most important thing. It's what are you actually paying? But they're very good about that when they're trying to sell you something. The first person you meet at the car place isn't the finance guy. It's the salesman guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, it's like, okay, now that you've picked out the car, how can we fit the round peg into the square hole? So again, take a step back and actually crunch the numbers before signing on the dotted line. That would solve a lot of our problems, I think.
And if you're not good at the financial stuff, find somebody to talk
Exactly.
to, or go and read some blogs. There's some really great stuff out there, not just mine.
But yours is a great place to start, and the service you offer is a great service on that front for people who don't know how to crunch the numbers or don't even know what questions to ask. So, okay, I'm going to sign up for a car loan. What questions should I ask? It's not just what's the monthly payment. What are the total payments? How many miles are included in the lease? What's the penalty at the end? What's the residual value? All those kind of things.
The question that I like to ask is, if something happened to me and I didn't have a job anymore, would this be something I could maintain, or would it be really crippling for me? If you're making payments that take you right to the top of your budget, and you could have chosen a slightly, less expensive option, you're really putting yourself at risk there, especially if you have no savings, for example. And
You're talking about stress tests.
Yes.
Which the government does with banks all the time. What if they had loan losses or whatever? But I think that's a fantastic thing for a human being to do as well. If I lost my job tomorrow, would I still be able to make that $600 a month car payment? And if the answer is, well, you know what, I've got some savings and I've got my resume out there and I could probably find a job in 3 weeks, okay, then that's cool. But if you work in a very highly specialized industry, if you work a seasonal job where you get laid off for 6 months every year, then I can pretty much predict what's going to happen. So I don't have a crystal ball, but I can see the future. Guess when my phone is busiest? Well, beginning of the year. You know why? Because there's this thing called December 25th, Christmas. And you know when it comes every year? December 25th, every year. So how many people who are listening who, celebrate Christmas are planning for it now, are tucking aside a few bucks every paycheck because we know it's coming?
Very few.
Very few.
But it's so consistent. You know you're going to buy some gifts or spend more, celebrate more, take a trip.
Take the plane to grandma's house, whatever. Birthdays are the same thing. They come on the same day every year. The license sticker you need for your car comes on the same day every year. Summer vacation comes at the same time every year. I mean, I get it. I can't predict when I'm going to need a new set of tires right to the day, but you can reasonably guess that as a car gets older, the costs come up. So look ahead and think.
Those are the two things.
Those are two big things.
So that wouldn't happen to be the title of your book that's coming out, is it?
No, but now that you mention it, I wish I had gone with that. The title of the book is Straight Talk on Your Money.
Okay.
And which is kind of exactly what we've just been doing.
Basically what we've been doing.
So, I mean, I talk about credit scores. That's a chapter in the book. I go through 22 different myths.
Wow.
That, things like, the credit score is very important. I have to have a highest credit score. I think you've already got the gist of why I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
So yes, it will be in stores, I believe, around September the 9th, 2017.
Okay.
And I go through all those kind of things. And again, I'm coming at it from my perspective, which is, okay, I've seen all these issues.
You've seen it all coming through.
I've seen it all. I mean, I've been a professional accountant now for 30 years. I've, dealt one-on-one with, at least 10,000 people. I don't actually count because I don't think of people as numbers, but maybe it's 20,000. I don't know. It's a big number. And I see the same mistakes happen over and over. And a lot of the time, it's people actually thought they were doing the right thing. People have this impression that, well, the reason the guy went bankrupt is because he spent too much money. Well, mathematically, yes, I guess that's true. But most people I meet with, it wasn't just, well, I went on some frivolous spending sprees and here I was. Something happened. Medical issues, gambling issues, marriage breakups, job loss, whatever. But also, it's very common for people to have thought they were doing the right thing.
Is that the hardest thing to hear when they come in? Is that, but I did everything right?
Yep. I had savings, and then this happened and that happened. And yeah, I bought as big a house as I could afford because that's what everyone tells me to do.
Oh. And so-
Because nobody has any incentive to tell you to buy a really small house or rent. No one makes any. There's real estate agents, banks, mortgage people, the moving industry, the furniture. None of them make money if you're frivolous. There's nobody who has an incentive to say that. So,
and we just need to keep telling people about this. So that's why I had you come on this podcast.
Well, that's why I'm glad to be on your podcast, because I think the more we can get the word out, the better.
And I'm glad that I went through it. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. I wouldn't wish a gambling addiction or having to go through a proposal on anyone, but it helped me learn about money and personal finance more than probably any financial education that I had. So,
well, and you wouldn't be a financial coach today.
I wouldn't.
If it wasn't for those things.
I would probably still be the bookkeeping coach. Let's go there.
Yep.
But I probably wouldn't, because having to live on cash for a little bit, which is what I did even before I got the secured credit card that I did, and knowing that I need this amount of money for rent in my account, and so I can't go out to dinner with you, or I can't buy these expensive groceries because I don't have any other money. And I think everyone needs to experience that, because we're so used to having the fallback of the credit card or the line of credit. And when you don't have that, you really realize what's going on and the value of planning and putting money aside.
Wow. So there's a great challenge for all your listeners. For the next month, live off cash or live off your debit card.
Live off your debit card, or just know that you can't use credit. If you have an emergency, obviously you'll use your credit, because, we're not going to go crazy, but you give it a try and see if you still have money in the bank for rent at the end of the month.
Yep.
And if you don't, just maybe have a little closer look at what it is you did that month.
Yeah, because something is going to change in your life in the next 50 years, because that's how life is. You won't be at the exact same job, living in the exact same place, exact same car, wearing the exact pair of jeans. It's just not the way it works. So something is going to change. Hopefully it's something great. You get a better job and make more money. But if it's a bump along the road, it's nice to have already anticipated it, have a bit of a cushion there. That's why getting rid of debt is so important, because that's the ultimate cushion.
Exactly. So how can people go and read about all this stuff? What's your website?
Best website is our company website, hoyes.com. So that's HOYES.com. Nice short name. And we've got tons of information there. We've got blog posts. We explain what consumer proposals are, bankruptcy. We've got links to videos. And then, as you mentioned, the podcast, which you've been a guest on. I've got roughly 150 episodes or so up there. So
way more than me.
At the moment. So whatever topics you're interested in, if you're somebody who likes to listen, then by all means click the one and listen to it. Obviously, it's available on iTunes and podcasting apps everywhere. Debt Free in 30 is what it's called. But all that information is available at hoyes.com.
And yeah, Debt Free in 30, you've pretty much interviewed every possible person in 150 episodes.
We've had a few, some great guests. Absolutely.
And you and your co-founder Ted Michaelos, you chat about various issues and
yeah, I have
different
Ted
points of
on
view.
probably every fourth or fifth show, and he's great because I turn the mic on and off he goes, because he's kind of like me. He's seen it all as well. Obviously, we started the company together, so he's got definite opinions on everything as well. So it's great to chat back and forth.
Great. So thanks so much for doing this, Doug. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thanks for having me, Bo.